once the titan of reality television. Simon Cowell now faces a deep and personal crisis, one far removed from the bright lights of Britain's Got Talent. While his subtle criticism and iconic rolling glasses continue to resonate on stage, the recent footage of Cowell immediately wearing the red, even fragile glasses has left viewers terrified. What really happened, from the near-paralyzing accident to a suspected neurological condition affecting every movement, the truth is that it's emerging and nothing short of devastating. The face of television suffering in silence. For more than 2 decades, Simon Cowell has been one of the most recognizable and commanding figures on the international stage. His mere presence could electrify a studio audience and rush a nervous singer through an audition with a raised arm and a catchphrase that built an empire. The X Factor. Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, and American Idol each owe a large part of their success to his dominance on stage. But as the lights blazed and the cameras rolled, a darker reality began to unfold behind the scenes, one that Cowell kept under wraps long hours under the bright lights. The glory of the blazing cameras and the pressure of non-stop filming began to take its toll on him. Watching fans began to notice secrets as secret as before. 2022. Cowell would become frightened, startled, or briefly startled by a half-hearted feeling as if trying to settle in. He usually seemed distracted or uncomfortable, but nothing concrete was ever addressed publicly. Cowell, known for his refusal to demonstrate illnesses, remains silent. Those who worked close to him began to talk about his uncharacteristic behavior. Long moments of silence between films, the need to rest in dark wrinkles between scenes, and inexorable absences from startup times. "He's not himself anymore," said one longtime producer. It was as if something was attaching itself to him, but he was determined not to let anyone see it. As the rumors grew, speculation ranged from exhaustion to depression, but the truth was even more physical. Cowell was experiencing a level of pain and neurological disturbances that even he, a man known for his good fortune, could no longer ignore. The agonizing condition that changed everything. In 2024, after months of speculation and incredibly visible on-stage agony, Cowell made a fascinating admission. He was suffering from debilitating migraines. Migraines were so severe that they occasionally caused a loss of temporal vision during filming sessions. This revelation fascinated fans and industry insiders. Cowell, the man who had never impressed under pressure, was now facing episodes that left him nearly incapacitated in front of thousands of spectators. These weren't your average heavyweights. According to sources close to him, Cowell's migraines were neurological events that could last for hours, sometimes occurring without insurance through the stage lights used on talent show stages. It wasn't just pain, it was disorientation. The AGT agent found out. Suddenly, in the middle of the conversation, his eyes would wake up. Sometimes he had to leave the set entirely. Indeed, the situation improved over time. As an exercise to manage the condition, Cowell began wearing distinctive red glasses during public appearances, an accessory that sparked curiosity and even ridicule online. But the glasses served a critical purpose. Designed to filter blue light and reduce pressure on hypersensitive glasses, they became Cowell's secret weapon in combating photophobia, a common migraine trigger. Yet many questioned the effectiveness of this treatment. The National Health Service (NHS) does not officially endorse red glasses for chronic migraines, leading some to wonder if Cowell was seeking an experimental remedy out of desperation. He was trying everything he could because nothing would stop him, a friend revealed. The medication sapped his energy. Glasses helped enough to make him work, but the pain never went away. It wasn't just a health condition, it was an identity crisis. For someone whose entire brand was based on subtle perception, emotional control, and uncompromising judgment, the unpredictability of his vision loss was a direct assault on his professional persona. The cameras kept rolling, the audience kept applauding, but behind those red glasses was a man navigating neurological chaos, afraid not only of the next pair of glasses, but of losing all control. The battle behind the scenes techniques for treating glasses. Behind the dark glasses and forced smiles, there may be a constant, invisible battle going on, a war brewing inside your head. If the noises about your chronic glasses are true, then the condition you're facing isn't just painful, it's potentially debilitating. And like millions around the world, Cowell was looking for ways to recreate his life. Migraine isn't just a pain. It's a complex neurological disorder often accompanied by pain, blurred vision, boredom, sensitivity to light and sound, and in severe cases, cognitive impairment. For someone in the public eye, especially someone who built his brand on sharp wit and total control, even occasional episodes can be devastating. So what can be done? According to leading neurological scientists, there's no single cure. But modern medicine offers an expanding arsenal of tools, treatments, and lifestyle changes. To fight the storm, Simon's significant battle against pain behind Simon Cowell's darkened eyes and calm public persona is a battle of private days, one that pushes beyond mere discomfort. For a man who built his brand on control, clarity, and command, the onset of chronic migraines has become a significant challenge, and managing them requires a profoundly complex and multifaceted approach. Like many migraines, Cowell has likely explored a variety of medications. Sources close to him suggest he has used triptans, quick-acting medications designed to stop migraines in the middle of an attack. Others focus on long-term preventative treatments such as beta blockers or anti-seizure medications, which attempt to reduce the frequency and severity of episodes. More recently, a new class of CGRP inhibitors, such as Aimovig, has become available, helping address the neurochemical pathway of migraine pain. But as with most chronic conditions, medications don't offer a perfect solution. Side effects can be difficult, and over time, their effectiveness can diminish. This is where life overlaps come in. Cowell has depicted a carefully regimented daily routine, one designed to reduce neurological triggers. He's been seen on set with mineral water always in hand, a nod to the importance of regeneration. He avoids bright light wherever possible, and his now iconic red glasses serve more than just aesthetic flair. They help protect the brain from blue-spectrum light, which can intensify migraine symptoms. From keeping a conscious eye to limiting common dietary triggers, such as processed foods, caffeine, red wine, and MSG, everything is designed to minimize risks. But for someone in Cowell's position, even this isn't enough. Those close to the manufacturing side say he's been exploring advanced therapies behind closed doors. Botox injections administered in small doses around the head and nose have been approved by the FDA for chronic migraine relief. He can also use nerve blocks, short outpatient procedures that block pain signals before they reach the brain. And there's growing speculation that Cowell has experimented with treatments like transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS. Individually, none of these options guarantees total relief, but together they form a fragile balance, a constant regimen that requires vigilance, experimentation, and a willingness to live with uncertainty. For this reason, when Cowell appears on stage criticizing contestants or negotiating barbs with fellow judges, we're seeing not just a performance, but perseverance. He's a man silently battling an invisible storm while the cameras roll. And that's what makes his presence even more extraordinary, the explosion that nearly ended everything. While Cowell's migraines were already disrupting his daily life, nothing could prepare him or the world for the accident that occurred in August 2020. In a moment of personal indulgence, Cowell decided to test a new electric bike in his hometown of Malibu. What was supposed to be a peaceful day turned into a traumatic event, nearly costing him his ability to walk. The accident was severe. Cowell lost control of the tall e-bike and was violently thrown across the ground, disrupting his mobility in several places. An emergency situation ensued, requiring the insertion of metal rods and screws to secure his plug. The entertainment mogul, known for his compositions, was suddenly faced with the prospect of permanent paralysis. His spinal cord was within millimeters of its initial severity, a source close to the family told reporters at the time. Doctors told him it was a miracle he wasn't paralyzed. While the public was reassured by advertisements describing a subsequent operation and a slow but steady recovery, those close to Cowell knew better. Behind-the-scenes rehabilitation was brutal. He couldn't walk without assistance for weeks. The pain was excruciating. His confident stance was replaced by a precocious and hesitant approach. For a man who spent his life judging others with unfiltered precision, the loss of autonomy was emotional. Composing the issue was the stamp. Cowell had just begun filming a new season of America's Got Talent, a cornerstone of his entertainment empire. As the show moved forward without him, Cowell watched from home, drugged, immobile, and helpless. Friends say the nurse marked a turning point in his psychology. It wasn't just a physical foul, but a symbolic one. The man who had controlled millions of careers with a single offhand comment couldn't control his own body. He forced us to face what he had long avoided: his vulnerability. Even after his physical recovery, Cowell's energy seemed to have waned. He's never been the same, a veteran Britain's Got Talent season host determined. There's something more happening now, something exciting he hasn't talked about. A return that seemed wrong. In 2021, Simon Cowell returned to television with much fanfare. Dressed in smarts, still flaunting his traditional swagger, and flanked by a renowned panel of judges, he headlined a triumph, a declaration that had conquered pain, adversity, and age itself. But the Weavers were quick to notice something strange. Cowell seemed soft, more reserved than usual. His comments lacked their former tiredness. There were strange pauses, unexpected pauses, and moments when he seemed visibly distracted or disoriented. At times, his voice seemed slower, his reactions were drawn out. Online forums arose with worrying speculation. Was he still afraid? Was he still on medication? Or was he getting worse? Was there something neurological going on? The tabloids matched. "What's up with Simon?" one story wrote. "Bread or something more sinister?" another asked. For many, it seemed that Cowell had returned too soon, and not just physically. Those familiar with the situation suggest that Cowell, a fundamental perfectionist, refused to wait until he was truly ready. He wanted to reclaim his throne before anyone else could take it away. But the cost of that fear was profound. Insiders revealed that Cowell was still suffering from chronic pain, which he silently managed with a cocktail of medications therapy and alternative treatments, including oxygen changes and laser spine therapy. It was all experimental. Everything was helped not by healing, but by restoring what remained of his stamina before the chambers closed. Then came the eyes. The red eyes that became a silent symbol of the fight Cowell had hidden. Initially, he wore them outside the room, but they were gradually used during reactivations and sideshows. It became obvious that he was struggling with the lights, often shielding his eyes, or frightening the panels or judges' monitors. Some suggest that Cowell's migraines worsened after the nurse, perhaps due to the nerve trauma or postural changes from the operation. Fans speculated whether Cowell's cognitive focus had been affected. Was this the result of long-term neurological stress or a side effect of the medications used to manage fear and migraines? Either way, it was clear that something had changed, and Cowell could no longer hide it behind self-righteousness or bravado. The man who once dominated every room was now carefully navigating every moment like a hole puncher, reading lines on extraordinary terrain. The irony wasn't lost on his fans, the pressure to maintain his appearances. While Simon Cowell might have looked exactly like himself on camera behind the scenes, things were much less certain. After his return to the judging panel, the pressure to maintain his public image only intensified. As one of the most influential people in global entertainment, Cowell was no stranger to the light. But this new phase of his life felt different. He wasn't just dealing with the entertainment industry. It was in facing his own body which had failed him in ways he had never anticipated. Cowell's physical limitations became more apparent in his daily life. Relationships appeared from those in his immediate circle that he would become a shadow of his own exterior, pining for simple pockets that once seemed effortless. Fatigue was a constant companion. There were even times when he'd have to cut short meetings due to severe discomfort or the onset of another ailment. But Simon wasn't ready to leave the world to watch him fail. Willpower and a desire to control his destiny drove him to work through the pain, failing to recognize how isolated he was. Sources close to Cowell explained that he suffered from a pain that was aching from illness, a vulnerability that was unfamiliar to him, having spent decades cultivating the image of a powerful and infallible mogul. In an unexpected return, Cowell began to return to his family for support. He had always been a private man, but those closest to him, his partner Lauren Silverman, their son Eric, and his close friends, saw a side of him that few had ever seen. For the first time, Cowell allowed himself to be vulnerable with the people who meant the most to him. Lauren, always by his side, became a pillar of support, helping him cope with the emotional toll of his condition. Eric, their young son, brought moments of levity to the dark parts of his life. But even that couldn't shield Cowell from the full weight of what he was experiencing. Yet despite these moments of support, Simon's fear of becoming irrelevant grew. Like a man who built an empire from nothing, he couldn't face the darkness. I used to be able to work on anything. Now I had to learn to pause, listen to my body, and prove that I can't control everything, she once confessed in a 2021 interview. Public appearances were still necessary, and her television career was very close. But how long could this continue to be the case? The truth behind the ears is that there's still more at play. For now, Simon Cowell's red ears have become an enigma. What began as a precaution and an activity related to enlightenment related to his migraines has quickly become a symbol of his structure. But were his ears simply a response to physical pain? Or was there something more at play? Sources close to Cowell speculated that his migraines weren't just a symptom of his past pain, but potentially a reflection of neurological issues. As the months passed, Cowell began to relax more strongly in his ears, a tangible sign of his desire to hide the pain from the world. Some have also gone so far as to suggest that his apparent cognitive shifts, quicker responses, and occasional difficulty maintaining conversations could indicate something more serious. Was Simon experiencing neurological decline, possibly triggered by the trauma of his accident or the long-term stress of his career? Some experts in the fields of brain health and spinal cord disease have noted that the central nervous system can be profoundly impacted by spinal cord disease, particularly when the trauma is near the spinal cord. The likelihood of such a condition extending beyond simple mobility issues could be significant, potentially affecting cognitive function, memory, and speech. In an exclusive interview with a medical specialist, the possibility was raised that Cowell's decision to wear glasses was his way of covering up something far more complex than just light sensitivity. Experts speculated that there could be an underlying neurological cause for his symptoms. The spine is intricately connected to the brain, and an illness like Simon's could very well cause cognitive disruptions throughout. The glasses, which many now believe may not just be for disease or discomfort, but could be filling the signals with a much darker truth, one that Simon himself may not be fully prepared to admit. Cowell, a man who has always prioritized control over his image, may be reluctant to confront the possibility that his mind, much like his body, no longer functions as it once did. The mounting suspicion over his health raises even more questions. Was Cowell trying to fill in the public's pockets? Was his ever-present desire for control and perfectionism driving him to suppress the reality of what he was experiencing? If his physical recovery wasn't as complete as he made it out to be, what was the true cost of that determination? Public outcry and a silent outcry from the industry. As Simon Cowell appeared on screen, with the glasses that are now his signature, the public began to notice his decline. At first, there was casual chat, online comments about her appearance, speculation about her health, and curiosity about red lights. But the conversation quickly escalated. What began as rumors on fan forums and social media soon spread to the tabloids and entertainment news outlets. Was Simon Cowell really okay? The articles began to depict every movement, every gesture, and every facial expression. Why does he seem faster? He didn't interrupt once, so it's not like him. His voice sounds different. These weren't just passing comments. They were signs of growing uncertainty among fans and insiders. After decades of seeing Cowell as razor-thin, fast, and almost subtle in his certainty, this new, quieter version of him seemed pressing. His fellow judges on Britain's Got Talent also represented a shift. According to behind-the-scenes sources, the producers were advised to minimize close-ups and avoid putting Cowell in situations where he would need to speak at length or react spontaneously. Everything was carefully crafted, creating an illusion of stability. But it wasn't amazing. The industry, notorious for swallowing and trashing its icons, began to sense vulnerability, something Cowell had never allowed before. Some questioned whether he could continue in his current role. Was he still Simon Cowell, whom the entertainment world once trusted and admired, or would the Titan begin his quiet comeback? Worse still, there were suggestions that Cowell was being undermined in some key decisions. Still attached to major projects, his commanding presence had become more ceremonious than functional. Delegation, a term foreign to Cowell in his first role, was now his daily reality. Insiders say the production team had taken more creative control, with Simon occasionally offering input, but often deferring due to exhaustion or lack of clarity. The audience, meanwhile, began to express something unexpected: empathy. Gone was the villain of American Idol. In his place was a man clearly fighting a private war. Fan groups rallied online with hashtags like "Stay Strong Simon" and "Thank You Simon," celebrating their contributions while speculating, sometimes fearfully, about what was really going on behind the scenes. The world was watching, and it seemed everyone was asking the same question: how much longer can Simon hold on a future in question? With each passing week, the conversation about the future became less about television and more about existence. The man who once defined pop culture with raw honesty and confidence was now confronting something far more terrifying than criticism: his own human frailty. His friends reportedly urged Cowell to step back. "He doesn't need to prove anything," said one associate. "He's already changed the face of television forever." But those who know him best also understand the truth. Cowell doesn't know how to stop. Working for him isn't just a career, it's a mechanism, a source of identity, a blessing against fear. But how long can this blessing last when the foundation, his body, and perhaps even his mind, have changed? Medical experts suggest that Cowell's continued public presence, while inspiring to some, may come at a cost. Chronic pain, even when managed, can have cumulative effects on brain function, mood regulation, and cardiovascular health. If his migraines are linked to neurological or spinal problems, the stress and refusal to rest completely could accelerate his decline. Adding to the concern is Cowell's apparent hesitation to even discuss his condition. Unlike others in the industry who have come through gracefully, like Bruce Willis or Michael J. Fox, Simon remains attached. Some interpret his silence as strength, others see it as a denunciation. And then there's the possibility that fans and the media had to call, but never asked if Simon Cowell was dealing with a degenerative disease. The investigations are there, subtle but persistent. The glasses, the slower speech, the absence of his formal bravado, the retreat from company meetings, even the rare but visible tremors in his hands shifted during a recent televised hearing. Nothing has been confirmed, no diagnosis has been offered, but the silence itself feels heavy. So where does that leave him? Recently, some have speculated that Cowell may transition to a permanent behind-the-scenes role, focusing more on executive production and mentoring away from the spotlight. Others believe he might attempt a public farewell, perhaps using the next season of BGT as a rallying cry. Still, a small but growing group worries he won't make it that far. In the final, what happens to Simon Cowell isn't just a story of health problems or cold stardom, but of a slow, devastating realization that even the strongest among us aren't invincible. He began to adjust the television with ironclad confidence. Now, behind the red glasses and the smiling smiles, he faces a challenge unlike any other. And while the world watches and marvels, one truth remains sweetly clear. This isn't the Simon Cowell we remember, and whatever happens next season will only break your heart. What do you think is the worst part of his situation? How would he handle this pain? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for your attention, and until next time.